Yo, welcome to the MetaCall brought to you by PokeDads TCG. I'm your host, Katana TCG. We're going to take a look at some tournament results. Last week, the late night 23, you had Mew Genesect in first place. Second place was Jolteon Intern. Third place was Josh Sutherland piloting Zacian Zamazenta. GG's to that dude. Fourth place, you had Mew Genesect. Fifth place, you had Power Tower, Jolteon VMAX. Sixth, we had Suicune Weakness Box, which is kind of neat. Seventh place, we had Jolteon Intern. Eighth place, we had Eternatus. Ninth and 10th place, we had Mew Genesect. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the winning Mew VMAX list. Everything's super consistent. Running high counts of everything that make this deck operate very quickly and very efficiently. 2-2 count of Training Court and Rose Tower is different than some of the spicy tech that we've seen in other Mew lists, but I can understand that consistency is key when you want the game to only last 4 turns. GG's to the pilot of this Mew list. And then we're going to go into the Sunday Open. And once again, Mew Genesect taking the dub in this tournament. We have the Power Tower taking second place, which is super cool. Third place, we had Jolteon Intern. Fourth place, we had Gengar. Fifth place, we had Energy Denial, Suicune and Intern. And in sixth place, we had Mew Genesect. Seventh place, we had another Gengar list, which is kind of spicy. Eighth place, we had Jolteon Intern. Ninth place, it was Mew Genesect. And 10th place, we had Victini, which is also very strange for this format. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the winning Mew list for this week. A little bit more designed to last a little longer than 4 turns, if you will. With the one of Peony being able to go grab yourself the counter stadium if you're stuck behind things like Galar Mine or Path to the Peak. The Crystal Cave is cool too, because if you're dealing quick shooting to things like Genesect to try to make that a future target, the Crystal Cave is nice to heal off that damage, making it less of a liability and being able to consistently draw cards with it. So yeah, it's good. I think it's still very powerful. So much donk potential with a deck like this, and it's hard to counter, if you will. We're gonna go look at the weakness Box Suicune deck that we were kind of mentioning in the late night series. It's cool that it swings for 3 different weaknesses. I guess more than 3 if you decide to attack with Galarian Articuno, and until Double Turbo Energy comes out, I don't really think that's going to be such a threat. The 4 count of Aurora Energy means, it's a tried and true weakness box list, and I love it. Melanie and Dire Flame Wings keep the energy recycling pretty well, so that's why you can run such a low count of all these flavors of energy. The high energy switch means you can basically choose your attacker based on your case, and although Galarian Zapdos is weak to your boy Mew VMAX, the Thunderous Kick being able to basically delete a special energy and swing for 170 is pretty awesome. And then things like Ditto can switch back into Galarian Zapdos if you receive a knockout and stuff like that. So overall, cool list. It isn't spined on things like Shady Dealings and Teleon. So it's different from the norm, and I think that might be necessary for this future format that we're running into. And then we're going to go look at that Victini list. Super consistent. Anything with 2 rows of cards basically means you're running high counts of few cards, which means it's very, very consistent. Running the high count of Path to the Peak is very necessary, especially if you can turn off the draw support that Genesect provides for Mew VMAX, the best deck in the format. Things like Tool Jammer are also necessary to eliminate the badge from working on Jolteon, so that's why it's very prevalent in this format. And things like Single Striker Shifu using the scroll, it's nice to shut those off with things like Tool Jammer as well. High count of Fan of Waves plus the Crushing Hammers means this deck is kind of designed to be more manipulative than it is supposed to be a powerhouse. But let's not forget that Max Victory still swings for 220 against all V Pokemon, which is extremely hard for decks to bounce back from. We'll go ahead and dive into the call for the week. And surprising nobody, my number 1 call is going to be Duraludon. When it stops making top cuts is probably the week I'll stop making it my first pick. But it's just wildly consistent. Being able to wall everything off, giving yourself plenty of time and staying in the game long enough with things like Team Yell Towel and Crystal Cave. It just makes it a powerhouse. And like Victini, swinging from 220 every turn is really hard to bounce back from. unless you run into Victini, of course, and that does definitely put a chink in this armor. But other than that, I really like the one of Flannery being able to basically win that stadium war, having the ability to bounce 5 stadiums. Things like Pesky Path to the Peak definitely put a little pressure on things like Duraludon, but being able to counter those with things like Crystal Cave and Flannery are super useful, and I love the high count of Avery as well. And my pick number 2 for this week is going to be Jolteon VMAX. Love the list, love the high count of Cheryl, being able to absorb a hit, heal it all off, and attack again with a single energy because of the perk of the Elemental Badge, allowing Jolteon VMAX to max Thunder Rumble for 1 lightning energy is pretty awesome. The high counter Path to the Peak helps you shut down things like Duraludon and Genesect. Other than that, these would be the 2 decks that I would use to compete this week if I were to play in some Limitless events. That's been your MetaCall. Deuces.